the key for all of us is no matter what the external expression of our dogs is to know that that is not the cause, that is the effect. So with these high aroused dogs, it really is no different than the low aroused dog who goes to sniffing, who gets distracted. That it's a matter of recognizing the mental shift. And by looking for the dog's mental shift, I'm going to say this again, we are now presenting our dogs with a mental emotional connection. We are offering that from ourselves to our dogs. Think about that for a second. This is really profound. It's possible from our dogs' perspectives that we are the ones who have not been connected. Is that wild, right? I think this is actually it. That when we are looking and trying to observe our dogs, we are connecting mentally and emotionally. Our dogs recognize it and return the favor. That is clarity that I've never had until this trip. Okay, so moving on. I talked about the power of the pause. That's a great, I think I should make a t-shirt that says the power of the pause, focusing on mindset. I already shared about how mark training is a great mechanism for helping us develop the habit to do that. That it creates the pause that we can then connect with our dogs at a mental and emotional level. And again, our dogs return that favor. I want to share this one other thing that happened this weekend that, if I didn't already, that you've seen on these videos where I rake Dakota's back along, my fingers running along his spine. That creates this other mindset that looks a lot like Echo in my yard. I did that before one run in the trial, and luckily I have it on video. And one of Echo's annoying habits is that she'll scoot her butt at the start line, scoot forward. Dakota has never done that in his life. And after raking his back like 3 times while I was at the start line, he scooted. One time, little scoot. And I believe he did that is because that raking, it energized, or it woke up all of those nerves all the way down to his tail. So all of a sudden, he was having all these feedback loops, brain to all these nerves, all the way up and down his spine. And I'll bet you with all the mark training he's done, when he's sitting, his brain is having a feedback loop with his front feet, and nothing is being paid attention to back there, so it's never moved. So that one little raking not only shifted his mindset to make him scoot, but I think it also woke up some kind of dormant loops that created that. So one little action, and I guess the message here is, think about your start line routine. What do you do before you enter the ring? Like I may glance at the dog before me running the course, but I don't watch the dog before me running the course. I consider that the time where I'm really connected with my dog. And maybe that habit comes from being a terrier person, where if you're not paying attention to a terrier, they're most likely just sniffing and getting into some sort of trouble. But so with Dakota, before we enter the ring, I am engaged with him. And I may glance to see, where they're at the course, but I'm not staring at the course. So really pay attention to that in yourselves, that is a great time, I think, to connect mentally and emotionally to a dog and to see where they're at and to give them what they need. And then all the way to that start line. When you get there a little early, excuse me, or they need to fix a tunnel or whatever, what is it that you do? What does your dog need from you? What would your dog appreciate from you? And with Dakota, I've lately gotten in the habit of doing some touch and tone stuff, around his jaw, and we're making eye contact, and it seems to be a really nice way to start the run. And while these things are kind of calming signals, and I have thought about, am I revving him down? It has not appeared to have a negative impact. And, one more note about just before you run. a lot of people have the habit of really revving up their dog so that the dog is always in this one specific mental state before they enter the ring. And I think it's all worthwhile to think about that as well. Does your dog need to be in exactly the same mental state walk into the ring? Like, are you in the same mental state every time you walk in the ring? I know I'm not. Today, because I'm all allergy medicated up from spending a few hours in somebody's house with a cat, I didn't realize there was a cat there. And so I had to take an allergy pill last night, and now I'm kind of drugged out. Made me kind of in a foul mood and all that. And, yet, when I arrived at this agility arena, I didn't need to rev myself up. As soon as I started engaging with my dogs, I was engaged with my dogs, and all of my, frustrations fell away. And I think the same is true with, you have to see, is that true with your dog? Does he need to be revved up, or can your dog bring his own revved upness or her own revved upness to the start line, like what we've been playing around with to training? In that, what does your dog bring to training? Do you need to get him engaged, or is he bringing engagement? So it's another place to really look at, these norms, like what everybody's doing, what we've been told to do. Is that really the right thing for your dog? Oh, hi, Catherine, Kelly. Nice to see you here. I'm going to wave so that somehow that changes how things look on the screen. So that is another thing that came up. And let's see, what else? Okay. This relates to Charlotte's talking about Shady on when to reward. And I'm going to put this in the context of, I did a private lesson this morning with somebody who I showed her mark training years ago with her then puppy, and the dog is now, I guess it's probably 3 or 4, somewhere in there. And they haven't been doing mark training for years, but the dog, still, could go to a mark. And I was showing her how to do this 3-mark routine, and they're having contact problems and all that. And she was telling me about that she did a weave training program where, there were specific instructions like, open the channel, do 40 reps, now do this, now do 40 reps and do this. And she followed it like a cookbook, and ended up getting stuck because she was moving way too slow for her dog. And I think she went and asked the instructor, like, I'm stuck at this stage, I don't know how to get beyond it. And the instructor said, oh, well, you should have moved beyond this long time ago. And so the problem with anybody giving remote instructions, or, you do a video and you put it out there and, you're trying to be specific, is that instructor herself would not have done 40 reps of each stage with that dog. But the good student tries to do it and ends up moving too slow, and that can be as detrimental as moving too fast. So one of the things that we were working on today was, at what point, like, the way I consider the reward chain for my dogs is there's the praise, the, good girl, or perfect, or that was amazing. There's all the things I say. And the reason I use a bunch of different words is I believe dogs read the emotion behind these different words. And so I am letting them know just how amazing that was, or what a good effort that was, and maybe not so amazing, but wow, that was really good effort. So I use these different words, and I encourage you all to use a variety of words as well. I think it also helps clarify, your release word as that is a very special word, and all these other ones mean, something different. But so anyway, we're doing this lesson, and my friends asked me, well, when do I give the external reward? So either toy or fruit. We were working with both, and my answer was, observe your dog. When does your dog deserve the icing on the cake? Because really the cake of this is the mark bucket is somewhat rewarding. Your praise is also rewarding. This is somebody who uses praise and her dog responds to praise. So when to give that icing? When, it's for her to recognize in her dog the mental state of when is the dog, you're pushing the envelope, and when was your dog able, when you see that shift of almost breaking and then not, and deciding, yes, that is a mental shift took place. I'm going to reward that. And that is what Ocean provides the opportunity to learn because of these super simple actions, to get in touch with what reps deserve what level of reward. And it's a very big gray scale. It's not a black and white. And if you treat rewards like a gray scale, like in the situation with Shady, who if Charlotte's working with her and she withholds rewards, Shady starts barking and with frustration. That I'm guessing that Charlotte's been operating with a very black and white. You either get the external reward or you don't get the external reward, and undervaluing the gray scale that exists between those two things when we intentionally make ourselves part of the reward chain. So this praise and touch and tone for dogs that like and touch in training, or that have relearned to enjoy touch during training, that's probably the thing that's missing with Shady. That she's all, like for Shady, the icing is the cake, and anything before that is meaningless. So with Charlotte, I mean, you've been doing really, really good work on incorporating, praise and touch and tone and all of that. And just keep thinking about your interaction with Shady and your praise and your mental and emotional connection to Shady as being the cake, and that the external reward is the icing. And I think if you keep your thinking like that and create all that gray area between the black and the white, that get it or not get the icing, that Shady will start developing a more resilience, more mental toughness, because she will be in tune with that, yes, I was rewarded, but it wasn't quite as good as that other rep. And then your dog can go, okay, what was better about that? Oh, I know it was better about that one. I was a little bit faster. Or, I put both feet on. I didn't do 1 foot, then 2 feet. Then let the dog start figuring out what the differences between the gray area rewards are and the, the icing rewards. So I hope that's clear. But that is, I think, a pretty clear description of what Ocean is designed to help you do, because we're not so busy doing a gazillion things. And if you can't keep this in your mind, working 2 mark buckets, do 1 mark bucket. That if it's too much to keep track of, like I need to remember to mark, not the word mark, it's not the word, to say a marker word, when my dog's second paw hits that mark bucket, I need to remember to do that. So I need to watch that, and I also then need to pay attention to my dog's mental saying blah, blah, blah. If it's too much to do multiple marks, go back to 1 mark, because this is the thing that if you learn how to do this and you get in the habit of doing this, all of agility training is going to become super simple for your dog and you will know when to give the icing. And you won't even have to consciously know when to give the icing, the external reward. You will start feeling it intuitively because you're so in tune with your dog's mental and emotional state. And I've touched on this before, but intuition is sensory experience that isn't at the conscious level. So your brain hasn't intellectualized it, but it doesn't mean that your senses didn't pick it up. Because like I've said before, that once you have recognized and made conscious how your dog mental shifts to a better space, your brain doesn't have to be conscious about that anymore, that your intuition can start picking up on that. So that might have sounded a bit complex, but it really isn't. So I hope that was clear.